screen in the back. As I mentioned, the back seat will actually lay flat just in case we got to take a nap back there on the road. Yeah, a couple movies, you know.
You got surround sound here.
Oh yeah, nice kicker audio system throughout the whole thing. Typically this truck will stay on the eastern half of the country. You know, we have ventured over to the west coast. We've been all the way to Santa Cruz, California, Lake Tahoe, California, Reno, Nevada, Colorado, but for the most part we try to stay on the eastern half of the country from about Texas on over.
This type of
right now we've got 4 trucks in the fleet. The most recent one was just built and shipped over to Europe, so now Europe has their own Oakley O Lab. We've got 2 vehicles just like this one on the east coast, which is this one, and one on the west coast, and also a main events truck, which is more of a camper style R&D facility. Everything else, we've got 4-wheel drive available on this vehicle, both low and high range. You know, so there isn't really too much that we're gonna get stuck in, that's for sure. We've pulled it through some amazing things, that's for sure. Whether it be snow, mud, dirt, sand. You know, we've taken this out on the beach. You know, so it's a war vehicle, that's for sure.
Wow, how's it gonna look?
Well, you know, we've always had that sort of military-inspired aspect to the company, and I would definitely say that has transferred over into a lot of our vehicles for sure. We actually most recently just purchased a tank, an actual, you know, old Soviet tank. So that's the newest Oakley vehicle, is an actual working tank. I mean, the munitions aren't working, but obviously, but yeah, you know, and that kind of goes along with much of the attitude with the company is, you know, and it's kind of funny, but we kind of joked about it in the article on the Oakley website, and with all the economic trends nowadays and everything that's happening, everybody's doing anything they can to, you know, pinch every penny, but Oakley is kind of just full steam ahead and buying a tank. Basically, these are just a couple optical tests that we utilize back in-house to get an ideal amount that it really doesn't even come into play. And again, nothing's ever going to be absolutely perfect, but what we've done is minimize that to such a small amount that your eyes can easily accommodate it. And that goes for every one of our styles, whether they be a sports-based piece, a fashion-based piece, women's lifestyle, men's lifestyle. It really doesn't matter, the lens technology stays the same. So these are 2 of ANSY's industrial impact tests right here. We've got our high velocity impact test. We've also got our high mass impact test. The first one is just going to represent a small object traveling at a high rate of speed. So what we've got here is a little 1/4-inch ball bearing. Nothing too significant, really doesn't weigh anything at all. But we're going to fire this from 8 inches away at 150 feet per second. So that comes out to about 102 miles an hour. And to give you a comparison, first I'll show you just a tempered glass lens. You know, it seems silly, but glass is still commonly used in the eyewear industry, especially among brands that consider themselves to be performance eyewear. However, putting glass right in front of your eyeballs doesn't seem like the safest thing to do, depending on the application, because as you can see here, when it gets hit, that glass is going to shatter. You know, that's kind of a no-brainer. I'm sure we've all broken a window at some point. However, test some Oakleys here. This is the gas can, which is just a really popular style right now, and it's very identifiable. We've got the Plutonite lenses here that come stock on all our Oakley eyewear. You can see with the same test, essentially nothing happened. I'll wipe it off so you can see, but really there's just a minor scratch on the tint. Nothing has happened at all. The lens wasn't cracked at all. The lens obviously stayed intact and in the frame, and the frame stayed intact and on the dummy's head. So really, in the scheme of things, a scratch is no big deal when you think about it potentially saving your eyesight. Adding a larger, heavier object at a slower rate of speed, so we use this 500-gram spike. It's about 1.1 pounds. You want to check it? Make sure I'm not trying to pull a fast one on you. It's not like a foam rock or something like that. It's a legit metal spike. And we're going to drop it from about 4 feet. And since we already looked at a glass lens on our high velocity test, we know glass is going to shatter. You would think that plastic might be a little more durable. This is actually a CR39 lens material, which is a plastic, and in fact it's the most commonly used lens material in the sunglass industry right now. So you can see though, even though it's plastic, that spike pretty much blasts right through it, and I guarantee you that's going to be just as sharp as any glass that you come in contact with. So here's the same gas cans. Pop on there with the same spike. And there's a little bit different of a result there. While it did make a nice ding in the lens, put a little dimple in there, still didn't puncture through to the other side. And again, no pieces broke off this lens that could potentially fly back into your eye. The lens again stayed intact and stayed in the frame, and the frame stayed intact, stayed on the dummy's head. And most importantly, this lens wasn't pushed past the threshold of the frame to the point where it still might hit your ocular cavity or any of the soft tissue of your eye. Because for the real test, they're going to put a piece of putty to represent the eyeball. And if that putty gets touched by the frame or the lens, it would still fail. So really, that seems annoying. It's right in front of your eye. You can't really see anymore through that one, but you can always just take the lens out and get a new lens. You know, it's that easy. We've got tons of lenses back in-house at Oakley. Unfortunately, you can't do that with your eyes. You know, you've got one pair of eyes, you ruin them, that's it. You know, and while your eye may physically heal in time, you're never going to regain that vision. So it's really important to take the best care of your eyes that you have, because once you lose that sight, it's never really coming back. And that's just pretty much the development that goes into all of our eyewear. Like I said, this is just one style that we like to demonstrate with, but this technology is consistent whether it's a $70 style or a $600 style. You're getting the same lens technology, the same durability, the same UV protection. Pretty much the only difference you're going to find is the frame materials. Yeah, this is our new release right now. This is called the Pit Boss. This piece actually retails for $5.95. So right now it is our highest end piece right here. You can see the construction throughout it is pretty official. We've got, you know, nice rivets through there, good strong hinges. You've got interchangeable lenses right there with your T6 torque wrench. A lot of really unique lens materials or frame materials have gone into developing this frame. We've incorporated O matter and titanium and a number of different metals into one pair of frames. So we're really one of the only companies that does that as well. You know, you've got a lot of people who are pretty much just using your standard plastics or aluminums, whereas we're actually devising all of our own frame materials. So our plastic frames are actually O matter, which is going to be more durable than plastic. It's not going to snap. It's going to flex and retain its original shape, you know, which is something that's very beneficial. Plus we also utilize metals like titanium, which are going to give you extremely good strength as well as lightweight.
Wow. So what is O matter exactly?
O matter is just a synthetic blend that we use for our plastic frames. You know, most of the stuff is actually classified. So yeah, I'm not really going to say what O matter is on camera. Okay. But like I mentioned before, it's similar to plastic in the sense that it's flexible, but it's not going to snap. Okay. You know, it's going to be able to bend, but retain its shape. Okay. Wow. So that's something that's really, you know, important, because if you drop them or step on them or something happens to your frames, you know, there's only a number of things that can really happen. But typically the frame isn't going to bust to pieces.
How do you score a sweet job of getting to driving?
You know, I tell people, just work hard your whole life, study hard in school, you know, show that you've got good work ethic, and it helps to be in the industry, that's for sure. You know, if you're passionate about action sports and, you know, also the conventional sports that Oakley's involved in, whether it be cycling or, you know, triathlons, that definitely helps. You know, most of the people who work for the company are generally involved in those types of activities, so we all try and support the, you know, the avenues that the company's involved in.